Good morning, Tottenham fans all over the world, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur for the pre-match build-up as we kick off a heavyweight double-header against Bayern Munich. Today's friendly marks the end of our pre-season tour out in Japan and Korea, and then the next one takes place at the greatest coliseum for football in the world, which is our stadium. As you can see, of course, as always, joined by three guests on today's show. No Dermotron today. Dermotron is in hospital at the moment, so please get in the comments. I think he'll be listening and wish him the best of luck. Sam, we'll start with you, my man. How are you keeping? Welcome back. Good show Thursday.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Good to be on with two new faces, Jose, Sonny. It's a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed your sister's birthday, Dave. I hear they can get a bit rowdy.
No, do you know what? I nearly got a bit rowdy over the double chocolate fudge Oreo cake we had.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That sounds a bit like heaven, to be honest. But yeah, looking forward to a good pre-match, and yeah, let's get to it.
No, I appreciate it. Everyone. Big up Sam, of course, giving up his time while he's away on holiday in Cyprus. So what an absolute legend, and fair play to you, Sammy boy. The return of Sonny. Sonny, how are you keeping, sir? How was your trip at the Euros?
I'm good. Yeah, it was amazing. I even picked up this Spurs shirt that I'm wearing now with Kane on the back in a classic football shirts shop in Berlin. So had to cap off the trip with a bit of Spurs. Glad to be back on the show. Missed the intro as well. I was a bit like dancing to it. I was like, oh, I've missed this. But yeah, so good to be back with Jose and Sam as well.
It's absolutely great to have you back. I think I speak for most people. We've all missed a bit of Sonny around here. And then, of course, last but not least, a regular on these pre-match build-ups, it is the one and only Jose or Jose, whatever you want to do. Potato. How are you, my man?
It's definitely Jose because it's Spanish. I'm not Jose Portuguese, so it's Jose. Yeah, it's definitely Spanish. Yes, good morning, everybody. Sam, Sonny, nice to be with you. Nice to meet you both. And Dave, yeah, looking forward to, like I normally say, every time Tottenham play, I look forward to it. Doesn't matter, it's a friendly. If you're playing for 2 pence up the wall, if you're playing a European game, doesn't matter what it is, Tottenham, I'll watch them all day long. So looking forward to today's game and looking forward to today's show.
I'm really looking forward to today's game. I think it's going to be a really good litmus test of where we're at heading into this season. Of course, 2 weeks out, the excitement is building, which I absolutely love. Let's welcome a few people in, and then let's get down to the nitty gritty. We've got Faz Radfire 31 Spurs. Hello, my favorite channel. I hope you're all well. You guys keep us going in the uncertain window. I will go to the return match in London. Hopefully, Kane will show up in his former home. Yeah, he won't be here today, which is very, very interesting. You know, he's still on holiday. I believe Eric Dyer will. I mean, Ben Davies spoke about how delighted he is about that reunion. You know, two losers reuniting. Absolutely fantastic. But Harry Kane should be there for the return leg. To be honest with you, I'm over Harry Kane now. You know, he rejected my love, so I don't care how he gets on personally anymore. Also got Dermotron just letting people know he's won't be here today. He's in the hospital, so guys, make sure you wish him the best luck. He's gone for a 3-0 today. He's gone big. Terry Betts, good morning, David and Jack, along with fellow Spurs fans around the world, especially those in the Falkland Islands. What I'd like to say is we have made them tremendous progress in the last few years. Big up, Terry. Gabrielle 1, big up, IrishHotspur, and Happy Clapper. Hopefully, I presume I'm the Happy Clapper. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Big up, Kate. Great to see you as well. Moondog, as always, great to see him and Charlie. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Big up, Moondog. By the way, if anyone ever wants one-off Spurs pieces made, he is your guy. Absolutely phenomenal. We also got Danny Darko, Spurs. Oi, come on, you Spurs. Big up to all Spurs fans. Great to see you, Mr. Darko. DJ Samuel, come on, you Spurs. Great to see you, DJ, as always, lad. Spurs GCTV, good morning, gents. Let's go. Great to see you, as always. Rick in Brighton, morning all. I wonder what nonsense transfer rubbish we'll all have to wring our hands over today. Look, we're going to speak about, you know, in a couple of minutes, maybe are we concerned about the lack of progress made. I don't think any Spurs fan was sitting here thinking 2 weeks out from the season we'd be waiting for signings come in, like real signings come in and really impact what we're doing. So we'll definitely have a discussion on that, my man. Big up, Shem. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well, lad. We also got Roy Viking in the house. Great to see you, as always, Roy. Finn Rickwood as well. Big up, Dave, and the panel. Great to see you, Finn. Hopefully you're keeping well. When the Spurs go marching in, a.k.a. Paul. Morning all. Big up, Dave, and the panel. Come on, you Spurs. Let's have Bayern today. I'm really hoping the youngsters will shine. I think it'd be a great test for them as well, to be brutally honest with you, Paul. Shawnee Johnston says, got a great feeling about today's match. I think we will surprise a few people with a win. I really do hope so, man. We've got Richie Scully. I'm going to this match out in Korea. Well, hopefully you enjoy it. I believe, looking at the Seoul World Cup Stadium the last day, it looks like an amazing stadium, a good experience. So hopefully you can enjoy yourself there today. Big yourself up. We also got Alexander in the house. Valeris, he says, let's go. Absolutely, I cannot wait, my man. He says, let's go, Tottenham. Great to see you. We've also got David Clark. Hi from Leicester. Hope everyone in the chat is well. Hopefully you're keeping well, lad. We've also got, I presume, a Korean fan in here supporting Spurs from South Korea. Big yourself up. Absolute tremendous following out there. It's absolutely insane. Korea and Japan. I didn't realize, especially in Japan, there was so many Spurs fans. But even in Korea, the amount of them have surprised me, to be brutally honest with you. So you should all give yourselves a pat on the back. That's twice now we've been over there and you've received us with nothing but aplomb. So fair play to you all. Big up, Tyro. Great to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well. Let's see who else we have here. We've also got Slynell1. Would love Ange to start forming his first 11. I think we need to see that today from the off, to be brutally honest. Daniel Harris, big up. Team Harris checking in. Thanks for asking my 2 questions on the panel yesterday. Great answers. No, look, no problem. This is a part of the deal of the memberships. Every panel show we do, we're hoping to put out 2 every single week for you guys. The day of the panel shows, go to the community section. There will always be a thing there for you guys to get your questions in, and we'll get them answered at the end. Big up, Daniel. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Out and about, Chalks Talks Tottenham. Great to see you, Chalks. Hopefully you're keeping well. Good to see you in the building. And then make sure I'm not missing anyone. Levy with a bevy is in here. Great to see you, as always. Can't surprise anyone. We know exactly how we'll play. Fair point. George Caritas, great to see you as well. Also Cozy as well. Big up, everyone. Great to see you. And we also have the Diddler in here. Let's go, boys. Along with Romero Ahmed. Hopefully you keep him well. Great words by Romero, encouraging that he loves his time at Tottenham and wants to stay here. And Warren Clark, good evening from Tamworth, Australia. Great to see you, Warren. And also Alex Samara here. When this is good, test versus Bayern Munich. Check the progression and performance of our team. Come on, you Spurs. Couldn't agree more with that, Alex. And that's what we will be kicking off with the boys. Adrian Chia says, big up Jose. Jose for rocking the third kit. Come on, you Spurs. Adrian Chi, I think you've recruited a new member to the Basuma Third Kit Society, my man. Big yourself up, Adrian Chi, and always good to see you tuning in. Guys, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Of course, Tottenham contest the first of heavyweight doubleheader against Bayern Munich today. These being our last 2 games before the season starts. Sonny, we'll start with you. Is it fair to start making judgments about Tottenham's potential for the upcoming season based on these preseason friendlies, these last 2, considering it's only 2 weeks out from the season? Because the general consensus over preseason so far has been you can't take that away from it because it's just about getting fitness into the legs.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really started with any centre-backs in any of these games because obviously the squads have not been fully assembled due to the Euros and the Copa America as well and other competition. Same with this Bayern Munich team. It's this is a new Bayern Munich team under Vincent Kompany. Elise's at the Olympics with France. There's not a lot you can take from these games, I don't think. I think it is just about fitness, trying different patterns of play, that sort of stuff. Bayern Munich will be a bigger and better test in these 2 games. I think it's good having a home and away sort of leg for them as well. Good to have a game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well. But yeah, pre-season's a weird one because I just think it's for trying new things, blooding some youngsters, getting them in and around the first team, which I think has been quite a good success for Spurs in this pre-season campaign. I know some of the competition hasn't been amazing, the likes of Hearts, QPR, K-League, Exile, that sort of stuff. But I think, we've seen some good stuff. I don't think you can be too worried about the defense because it's been so much of a mishmash, making 6 subs at a time, which, Ange doesn't do in games normally. You barely get 1 or 2 in certain latter stages of the games. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where you just got to take it a bit at face value, not look too far into it and just hope that, we've got some positive stuff. Archie Gray already looks good. Lucas Bergwall's settled in nicely. There's a lot of new people coming into this group and it's good to see. And then, people like Jed Spence coming back into the fold and some good, sort of solving an issue. A lot of fans wanted a new right back, but we're hopefully getting rid of Emerson and he can step up and be a backup or, give Porro a good chance, because Jed Spence is a talented player. He's just not had the best start to life at Spurs because of Conte and different loan spells. But, it's good to hear some positive words in that regard. So, with pre-season, I think, wasn't Nuno undefeated in pre-season? So, you could never look too far into some of these results, I guess.
No, look, fair point. I do think, some of the earlier fixtures you could maybe point at and say, fitness in the legs. But Jose, at what point do we start looking at some of these games and going, okay, this isn't concern, this is what we do well, and start, working off things heading into the season?
Pre-season was always going to be difficult because of as Sonny alluded to, the two major competitions that have taken place, which takes some of your team players out. Now, okay, so it's only taken 4 to 6 players out of our team, 7 players out of our squad, 7 who arguably would be in the first in the match day squad. Usually, a lot of them would be starters as well. Out of them 7, barring probably Lo Celso. But what it does do, through circumstance as well, through injuries as well, what it has done, it's made us try new things and different things. And one of them is playing Kulu as the false 9. We've had to play him because he's obviously not got 100% trust in the 3 youngsters we've got in Lancashire, Villiers and Scarlett. So he's tried new things with Kulu. It's probably something we've all been crying out for, because we all believe that Kulu is far better in the centre than what he is out on the right, whether he's playing 8, 9, 10 or 8, false 9 or a 10. So, that's been good. As Sonny said, you've got to bleed blood in Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall. It's been nice to see Mikey Moore play. It's nice. Donnelly, for me, has been a revelation. He hasn't put a foot wrong playing and covering in at the left back position. And if anyone can play inverted, if Ange wants to go down that way, then Donnelly has certainly put himself in there, because he's inverted brilliantly. It's getting minutes into people's legs and different patterns of play. What I will say is that all the training sessions that we see from the Tottenham videos, whether it was at Hotspur away last season or whether it's been now whilst they're away on pre-season, 2 of our goals in the game against the K-League and Vissel Kobe were goals that you could take off the training pitch. So they were proper Ange goals type things. So the thing is that people seem to be taking more and more on board, because we've had one season last season, more and more on board the tactics that he wants to use and the way and the style of play that he wants. And the kids have been an absolute revelation. They look like they've taken it on board far quicker than what the first team players have. So it'll be interesting to see. It's been a mishmash, and that's because of 2 major competitions. But that can be said for everybody that sent players to them competitions.
No, 100%, 100%. And Sam, on to you. Look, Paul says here, we say not good opposition, but Hearts are 3rd best Scottish team. QPR London Derby, never easy. K-League was full of South Korean internationals. The K-League team was. This preseason has been our best for years. Do you echo that sentiment that Paul shares there?
I think it's definitely good to not diminish the quality of and disrespect the quality of the teams that we've played. They're no pushovers, let's be honest. As he's saying, Hearts are the 3rd best team, QPR, London Derby, and the K-League, obviously, they're the best players of that league. So while I don't think that they are going to be sort of near the quality of teams that we're playing, they're not crap, let's be honest. And especially with the kind of teams that we're putting out, playing Skip and Gray as our centre-backs in 2 of those games. And just an inexperienced squad kind of all around in different positions. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's our best one. To be honest, I always kind of forget about who we play in pre-seasons. I'm trying not to take too much away from it. I think it's the one thing I will take away is we've got players who seem to be willing to play in other positions if they're needed to. I think I'm a bit disappointed to not have seen Donnelly play slightly higher up. I mean, by all accounts, last season he was our most exciting prospect, in the final third. So it is a bit disappointing to see him have to play left back. But at the same time, he's played there pretty well. It'll be interesting to see how he does against the likes of Bayern Munich today, because they will be a test even without their first teamers. But yeah, look, it's been an interesting one. Like I say, it's interesting to see these players play out of position. I didn't actually think that Gray was particularly dazzling when he played in the middle, but he's playing alongside two young, inexperienced players in Saar and Bergvall. Yeah, I like Kulu up front. I won't go too much into Kulu because I know you want to chat about him a bit later on. But look, I don't think you can take too much away. I think the one thing I'm mainly disappointed about is we haven't seen much of Phillips. He had a good half season for Plymouth last season, and he ended up being their young player of the season. And it's a bit disappointing that we haven't actually been able to see him get longer than like 25, 30 minutes in games, especially when he's playing the likes of Emerson and my boy Ben Davies. You're wondering why he wouldn't give Phillips, at least a half to kind of actually go and show what he's worth. Because if you're not going to give him minutes in these games to actually show us that he could be ready, then how are we ever going to know that he is ready?
No, absolutely spot on, and that's something I sort of agree with you with. Look, Ashley Phillips was injured for the last one, but I do agree with you in terms of a lot of the games building up to it. That Ashley Phillips, I would have liked to see him get a bit more game time to see what he can offer, because like you said, Plymouth's young player of the season last season, physically the guy's well up for it. It's just, I think it comes down to, is he good enough on the ball? Will he be good enough when better teams go and put an intense press on him, unlike what we've seen this preseason? So it'll be interesting to see whether Ange Postecoglou has his answer to that degree. But look, I think largely overall, I think positive preseason has been positive in terms of last year we had games cancelled, stuff like that. This year we haven't. It seems to be a bit better planning around it. We've also been able to get our youngsters out there. I think we've got a lot of answers around some of our youngsters. Are they good enough? Are they not? But I also think there's a couple of things that we should take away that we need to work on. We're getting ripped open by easy teams. Got ripped open by Hearts at times, QPR at times, K-League done it with ease. Yes, we can sit here and say when Romero and Van de Ven come back, it's going to get better. Personally, I'm not quite so sure. There's only so much they can do. They need more help from other people, and it still looks like we're going to be vulnerable on the counter-attack, and it doesn't look like Ange Postecoglou has made any tactical adjustments to try and solve that issue either. So it'd be interesting whether he does something in today's game against Bayern Munich, who will be a lot better going forward than some of the teams we face. So that would be interesting to see whether he puts anything out there today different. But I do think that is a bit of a concern. Also, going forward, I was reading stuff yesterday, and a lot of these media are bigging up the 14 goals we've scored over preseason. But where my concern is, most of them have been scored by the youngsters. When we've had the likes of Werner, Johnson, and Son up there, it just hasn't worked. There's still no fluidity to it. We're still not potent enough, and that is a huge concern for me as well. So there are two things I think we need to work on, or we need to get transfer business done so that we can solve these problems. So they're my takeaways so far from preseason, and I'll make sure I'll give you more today as well, depending on whether we win or not. But look, let's keep it moving. I do have comments start from Mary W about the youngsters, which I'm going to get onto in just a little while. But guys, as Spurs fans, should we be concerned about the lack of progress made in signings, considering we're only 2 weeks out from the start of the season? And we'll start with you on this one, Jose.
Yeah, to the naked eye, it looks really, really frustrating at the moment. It's a difficult one because I'm judging that. I always said a lot that I judged the transfer window and whether Ange is being backed or not at the end of the transfer window. So I don't want to go too early on this because we've still got 4 weeks to go. But in the past, and I'd like to think, because there's different variables and different variations going on here, but I'd like to think that in the past we were really open about our business and stuff like that, and then you'd get stories leaked that we missed out on a player because of 5 million, or we couldn't get a player because of image rights, and you heard all these rumors and stories coming out, which probably made us go even more mad. This time round, we've got Langer in, and I've maintained all along that the in the nose or the ITKs that are all out there, tier 1s and tier 2s, have sprayed bullets from an AK-47, hoping not one lands, because not one player. We've been linked since April. We've been linked with 400 players, or just over 400 players since April. That's the comments that have come out. And when you look at it, Archie Gray, no one mentioned Archie Gray. We went and got Archie Gray within a 24-hour period. You look at when Højbjerg left, everyone was saying that he was going to 4 clubs. It was Napoli, Galatasaray, Atletico Madrid, or Fulham. He went to Marseille. So at the end of the day, I think that we're keeping our powder really, really dry, and we're not giving out the leaks. But in saying that, we are short in many, many areas, I believe, for this season. Even with the youngsters, how well they've done, I still think we're short. I think
what areas do you think we're short in, Jose?
I reckon two up top, one in midfield, and another defender is where I think we're short. I think we need to bring in either 2 forwards that can play in a forward 3, or you bring in 1 winger or a wide forward and 1 centre forward. I think we need to bring in another midfielder. To be honest, I'd bring in another midfielder, and then you're either bringing in another centre half to cover the left hand side, or you're bringing in, because I think Jed Spence has done really, really, really well, and I think Jed Spence is covering the right hand side, so him and Porro are there. I just think that we're still short on the left as well in defence. So I still think we're 4 players, and that's just as a minimum. With Tottenham as a club have done really, really well for once in getting players out the door. However we've managed to do it, whether we've let them go on freeze, whether we've not extended contracts, whether we've ripped up contracts, whether we've got shekels for other players or not, we've got rid of players. If you look at the pre-season that we had last season, probably up to about 50% of the team that went out on tour last year are no longer at this club now at this present moment in time. So there's been a big switch around, and for 6 years it's been hard to get players out of the club. In the last 12 months we've got players out of the club, so it's time to push on from there. But I think as a bare minimum, I think we're still short of 4.
Well, do you know what? I think you raise a good point. The fact that we've got a lot of that deadwood off the books, at this moment in time, there's not too much more to go. There should be no more excuses, over transfer windows, because we're not carrying extra wages that we don't need to. We're not looking to offload 6-7 players before the window even begins. So there is no more excuses now. It is up to them to go and get the business done now that they've got these players off the book. I mean, same question to you, Sam. Are you concerned by the lack of progress? Because even if people were going, look, I do think we'll get signings in. I mean, 2 weeks out from the season, it's starting to become very, very nerve-wracking. You look at West Ham, for instance. Today, they're about to get Somerville to sign on dotted line and Fulkrug. We're still sitting here twiddling our thumbs. And we all knew we needed a striker in this window.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's definitely concerning. I think the only saving grace is there's still, I think, like 40% of the window to go. So there's still time to get someone in. But I mean, we've all said throughout our streams, and probably all fans are saying, we needed to sign players before the tour, to actually embed them. I know it's difficult with the 2 competitions that have gone on. So the top players are obviously kind of struggling to be signed for that. But a lot of big teams have been out of competitions for, quite a while now. So it's disappointing that we haven't signed anyone. I think Jose made a really good point about the ITKs spraying bullets from an AK-47, because I said something similar on the Thursday stream for anyone that caught it. I think, linking to Angie's comments about, people are kind of like, oh yeah, he's saying we've still got this plan, we're sticking to this plan. But I kind of think that that's him letting us know he's always known that the window is going to go like this. I think that the ITKs and Romano and people like him, they kind of rile up the fan base, and they link us to, as Jose said, 400 players. And people are like, oh, we're linked to Eze, we're linked to Tony, we're linked to Gyökeres, we're linked to Solanke, we're linked to whoever. And the club hasn't actually ever, they won't bring that up and say we are going for these players, but we've never actually had any definitive answers that we are going for these players. So everyone thinks the window is exciting and all this is happening, and we're going to get these great players in. But we've been given no evidence that we are actually going to do that. And it is typical for us to wait until the last minute. A lot of more recent fans will think that because we've signed players early the last couple of windows that that's the kind of club we are, but we're not, and we all know that. We've always been a club that signs players right at the death, which frustrates probably all fans because they never get a chance to actually embed them in, which is why not going on the tour is disappointing. I mean, maybe the concern is that we did go on a foreign tour. Not that I have anything against going to these places, and I think it's great that fans from these countries get a chance to see us in the flesh. But for all the traveling that players have done
back
over
1
the
second, I have a knock at the door. Sorry, 1 second.
No problem. All the traveling these players have done over the last month and a half, 2 months, it's going to be a lot on their bodies. And had we done a more local tour, I wonder if maybe we might have signed one player or so to actually that they would have been able to come in while we're on tour, meet us in. If we did like a European tour, for example, they could meet us in wherever we are, like Alicante or whatever. But it's difficult to kind of judge how we're going to go into the season because I think we've kind of still got pretty much the same starting lineup that we had before. We've just got a few more squad players that have come in. I mean, what do you guys think?
I mean, I'll back up with what was been saying. I mean, at the moment, modern football on Twitter is just a cesspit in the sense of all these links. And I was talking to someone the other day, and it's the Italian journalists because they sort of have this scattergun approach of like the Chiesa stuff was just like it was Italian journalists sort of fabricating it. And you know what it's all about? They use journos to try and either get a better deal at their current club, a new contract. How many times have Man United been linked to players just to boost a contract or get a better offer from another club? They sort of play each other off. And that's what I mean with Spurs. We've got used to over the years of latter transfers. And because like the last couple of years, like even that Conte season when we signed Basuma, we did it all a bit early. So I think that caught us off guard with how early we can do our transfer business. But I mean, at the moment, I think the areas we're looking at are so competitive. For example, the forwards market is just so like strikers, you're having to pay upwards of 65, 80 millions to get someone who's bog standard. I mean, I saw like Eddie Nketiah being linked with Marseille originally for 50 million. Arsenal wanted for him, and he's not worth 50 million but that's the way the sort of inflation is in the market. It's just when it comes to Spurs current, like, even I've done a couple of videos on Pedro Neto, and there's something about Pedro Neto where I'm just not sure because of his injury record. Like, if he didn't have his hamstring issues, I'd be all over it. And I think he's the perfect profile of winger Franz Postecoglou. But at the moment, do we need another injury-prone signing after our last season? Probably not. Solanke, again, I feel like it's a good name, but for 65 to 80 million, which is what the two clauses are, I think that's too risky. Tony, obviously, he's gone a bit quiet. Eze has gone a bit quiet as well. And it's hard to know if they were actual, like, proper solid links in the first place. I mean, I'm a bit different when it comes to how many signings we need. I think our midfield, like the youngsters have probably shown enough this preseason that I don't think we need a midfielder. When it comes to centre-backs as well, I think, we've got the young guy on loan, Luka Vuskovic, Phillips, Dorrington, we've still got. So I think we've got more promise there. But it's just, I always still think we need an out-and-out striker. I think Tony would be the answer. But again, that's gone all quiet. It's just a weird time, really, the transfer window, because a lot of these clubs, a West Ham are going out and making moves, but they've got to make some sales as well. I feel like we're trying to get rid of the deadwood before we actually attack this window properly. The Archie Gray deal sort of popped up and we pounced on it, which I was really happy with. It's just, I think the way that modern, like, I preferred the transfer window when it was that whole, like, you don't believe it like a rumor sort of comes out of nowhere. and then next thing you see him in the shirt. Like all this sort of chat on Twitter, just sort of, and this rise of like in the know accounts who are not in the know at all. Like there's just accounts just tweeting Tottenham news like they've got they know the kit man or something, and it's like you need to just. I think the one message I'd say, and because I work in football media as well as my main job, is just like keep your source, like know your journalists who are the reliable ones, because they're going to feed you the right information. Like if it's an Ornstein, or even Fabrizio Romano comes to, he's been held to account this summer. Alistair Gold, like they do know what they're talking about. Even though some fans have a go at them, they do have solid sources at the club and being fed the right information, not just like this scattergun approach and the AK-47 that Jose said, which I really liked.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute great analogy. Look, for me, I know what you're saying, Sonny, about the prices of strikers and all nowadays, but we put ourselves in that position when we chose to sell Harry Kane without a sort of contingency plan. If you're going to sell the club's record goal scorer of all time, it's absolutely crucial that you have a succession plan to that, and we didn't, and that's why we're floundering around now in the market looking at a 68 million Dominic Solanke, who for me I think is an absolute huge risk. I don't look at him and go, yeah, he solves my problems this season. I'm more sitting there hoping he can recapture the form that he showed last season, and it's the first season he's really been in that form at this level. So I find it very disappointing that we haven't got a striker in yet. Everyone knows my feelings when we sold Harry Kane and that we need to replace him, and we still haven't done it to a large degree, and it's really pissing me off. Richarlison has come in here, he's done what he can, but he's never available. Never available. Solanke, I don't think is any better than Richarlison. He's just more available than Richarlison. For me, we need someone that's going to guarantee to bag us goals. So I don't see why the club are pissing about, funding over transfer fees. What did they think they were going to be, charged when they were going in for a striker? What did they think they were going to be charged? They knew they were going to be charged a fortune. Everyone knows we got over 100 million for Harry Kane. They're going to want some of that for their main man, and not only that, the longer we leave it, the less time we give the selling club a time to get a replacement. And that's a massive thing in football. Some clubs will not sell their striker unless they've got a replacement lined up. But not only that, for our own ambitions, how have we not got the striker in here early to link up with Son, to link up with the wingers, to make us a lot more potent than what we were last season? It's absolutely madness that we're still sitting here with no transfers. Look, I didn't think we'd be sitting here 2 weeks out with no transfers, to be brutally honest. I thought we would have got at least a couple more in by now, and we haven't. 2 weeks out from the season is starting to become concerning. Now, look, I do think the club are probably going to sign a couple of players, but how late in the window are they going to do it? Brennan Johnson last season, many people gave him a free pass because he didn't have a preseason. But we can't keep doing this to players. We can't keep bringing them in late and giving them no chance to settle in or get up to speed with what we're doing. Ange Postecoglou made it no secret all last season with the press. He wants to win titles. So how have we not gone after this window with a bit more gusto? It's absolutely mind-boggling. Don't get me wrong. I know 90% of our market is reduced because we have to shop in the English market. The homegrown side of the squad is one of the only areas really right now that we can improve on, because we're already exceeded our non-homegrown quota, and bar 2 or 3 of them, there's not really much of an area you can really improve on with some of them guys. So that slows this market, but the club knew that. I just want to see them operate with a bit more efficiency. Stop doing things last minute to save, a penny here and a penny there. Sometimes if you've got ambitions, you have to go down, lay down your money, lay out your ambition, get them in here, and let everybody get together on preseason and all push in one. Now we're going to enter the season with players that are drip feeding in, that have to get up to standard. Do we end up deviating from the plan because the longer we're leaving it, the less the selling clubs are going to want to sell their best players? I'm concerned. I'm starting to get very, very concerned. I didn't think we'd be sitting here this late in the window. No signings, to be brutally honest with you. Like I said, I think we'll get some, but, it just depends what quality right now. It just depends what quality right now. But, look, guys, that brings me on to the next question is, where are we? We're coming there. No, where are we? Yeah, here we are. Sorry, guys. We're still waiting for the likes of Romero, Van de Ven, Bentancur, Richarlison, Edoji, and I'm going to say this for Lo Celso, even though I don't want him to be here, or for Jose, Lo Celso, all to feature so far. Is there a concern, guys, that these won't be match fit for the start of the season? We'll start with you on this one, Sam.
I think it's a bit disappointing that like the likes of Van der Ven haven't returned, because he didn't really play any minutes while he was away. Like, you know, Vicario was a similar thing, so he's been back for the tour, and you know, I thought that Van der Ven might have come back, whether they've said to him, you know, don't worry, lad, we'll cope without you or whatever. I think Romero is one of those players that he's just ready to go all the time. He's not the quickest, so you know, he plays his game, and I think he plays it on his terms whenever. So I think I'm not too worried about him. Lo Celso, you know, he's got glass ankles, Dave, and his whole body's made of glass pretty much. You know, as soon as he runs for longer than 20 minutes, he's out for 4 games. I do think he's got quality, and I don't really want to let him go to Villa, because you just know that Emery will get the best out of him. But yeah, I mean, it is concerning that these players aren't back yet, but this happens, you know. But I think it's just the problem is more these players aren't back, and we don't have new recruits coming in to kind of offset the potential lack of form and fitness that they might have going into it. But you'd think that, you know, they're on some sort of home regime, that they're trying to get themselves ready to go. But yeah, I mean, it's concerning, but it's also, you know, we'll have to just see how it goes, really.
I'm not going to lie, I'm concerned, you know, how fit are some of these guys going to be ready to hit the season. We've seen Dragusin, one of the first things he done the other day was kick an air ball in our box, which nearly led, you know, to the opposition scoring. So I do think it's a bit of a concern. I mean, Jose, are you concerned that we're still waiting for, you know, what, 5, 6 sort of first teamers to really get back? We're 2 weeks out from the season.
Apart from a doggy, we knew about the rest of them, obviously, because whether we like it or not, you've got to give players a break. They've got to have that break during the season. The fact that these players that have gone on international duty for these competitions only get the minimum 3 weeks. You've got players that didn't go on international duties that we've got in our squad at the moment who got a 5 or 6 week grace from when the season finished to when pre-season started. And look at them at the moment. These players only get 3 weeks off. Am I concerned about the 6 that are coming back from the tournaments? Well, not really, because they would have been doing some form of training and they was playing matches of full games or whatever, most of them, until 3 weeks ago. We always knew what the deal was. Anyone that goes in these competitions is going to get a 3 week break. So we knew the deal. Van der Ven, because he went out in the semis, Van der Ven should have been back. For the 3 weeks, he should have been back Wednesday of this week. Everyone appears to be coming back by Monday, which is right. That's the 3 weeks. But that's for people that reach the finals. With a doggy didn't go away, but a doggy's been
injured.
You've got Richarlison, who's injured again. So I'm not really concerned for the ones that have been away. No. I think that their fitness, that they'll have a level of fitness with them, even though they've had a 3 week break. I still think they'll have a level of fitness. 1 week back on the grass, and I reckon they'll be tip top near enough, because it'll just top up where they were 3 weeks ago. Can I just go back to a point that you made with the striker situation?
Yeah, work away.
Okay, I'm not going to turn around and say that Solanke was my number 1 on my list, right? How many? But Richarlison last season had a purple patch between November and February, right? Because he was fit for them 3 months. So what we're saying, that Richarlison played a third of the season, right? Because he was injured at the start of the season. He was injured at the end of the season. Yet he scored however many goals. The thing with Solanke, whether you love him or hate him, the way that Tottenham play, he will be there to finish goals. And providing that he's fit, as opposed to Richarlison, then you can double the goals that Richarlison scored through Solanke. I'm not going to turn around and say he's number 1 fit, but the fundamental that we need in the team, and we suffered last year, we suffered from injuries, number 1, and then suspensions. And what we need this season, and the key to our season will be, is how many players can remain fit for us this season. That's where the key lies for us this season. And for me, if you're bringing in a striker, whether we love him or loathe him, right? If he's going to offer you more than what Richarlison does, and he's going to be on that pitch more than what Richarlison's going to be, then it can only be a bonus for us. But we also need that from our midfielders and defenders, and hopefully not end up having, 22, 24 players injured like we had last season.
No, I hear you, and I've always said to get in a second striker to come in here and beat Richarlison. But I just question, is he better than Richarlison? For me, I want a guy that I think is going to take me to the next level, take me towards trophies. I just don't think someone like Dominic Solanke is that guy. I do hear what you're saying, and there's that sort of merit to it. But I just don't think Dominic Solanke is that guy personally. I think he's a bit of a one-season wonder. He's 26, and it's the first time he's hit them numbers at that level. Harry Kane was hitting them numbers since he was 22 years of age. So, I'm a bit worried in that regard. But I do take your point on board. Obviously, it is to bring in a second striker here and hopefully bolster up the goals that we have up front, Jose.
Well, what's the difference between... Okay, so I'm going to ask everyone, what's the difference then between Solanke and Gyökeres?
Well,
I was going to ask the same thing.
That is true.
I get what people are saying. Look, Gyökeres, he's had his time in the Championship, and look what he's gone out and done at Sporting.
One season as well.
Yeah, no, I get it. But look, I also think going for someone like Gyökeres is a huge gamble. But for me, I just think his all-round game is a hell of a lot better than Dominic Solanke's. I think his link-up play is better than Dominic Solanke. I think he's better at getting on the ball, running at players and stuff like that. For me, I just think technically he's far superior than Dominic Solanke. The problem we've got, and I think we're entering the same problem if we bring in someone like Solanke, we're buying players that suit getting in behind high lines. What high line did we face last year? We didn't. And when teams found out that we couldn't break down low blocks, every team done it against us. Werner still won't be able to do it this season. Johnson doesn't have the technical ability to do it. Can't do it preseason. He's not going to do it this season. And bringing in someone like Dominic Solanke, I feel is going to be the exact same problem you have. What we need is players that can operate in tight spaces with 2-3 players around them, take players out of the game. I just don't think Solanke is that guy. Solanke, for me, is a guy that operates between the sticks, doesn't really move outside of that. And okay, there's a benefit to it. He'll be there for some of them crosses that come in, across the 6-yard box. But if we've learned anything from last season, we need a lot more out. We need a lot more than that outside of the box that Sonny couldn't bring, that Richarlison only brought in, drips and drabs. We need someone that is ideally, okay, you're never going to replace Harry Kane, but doesn't mean we shouldn't strive to get someone with very similar attributes that can reach that level. And for me, why would you go for someone like Solanke when Tony's that guy? There's a reason why he's in the team behind Harry Kane for England. He does all assets that Harry Kane brings to the game. Maybe not as accomplished as Harry Kane, but he definitely ticks more of them boxes. So for me, I don't understand why we're going after Solanke. If we're going to sanction 68 million on Solanke, sanction it on Tony. You'll get Tony out of Brighton for that.
But isn't there also like a... Oh, sorry, go on, Sam.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Sonny, go on.
But is it like we're talking about the striker market, and, Arsenal have been, linked with strikers. They haven't signed anyone yet. Same with Chelsea. And the thing is with Tony, and I'm an advocate for Tony, I like it, but there must be something there that I think people aren't sure about his price yet. I think obviously Brentford are not sure if they want to shift him yet. And obviously all this stuff with his, the betting scandal and all that, he's been at the Euros as well. So maybe he'll be back in training this week. Obviously England got to the final. He featured in some of the games. So maybe it's just sort of waiting another week to see what happens. And maybe this Solanke news is sort of like Spurs, we're saying about transfer rumours and that. Maybe they're just sort of exploring the waters with him to see. Because at the end of the day, I can't see Spurs paying 65 million for Solanke. And I was just looking at Gyökeres' record compared to Solanke, and they're pretty similar. I think there's about 50 games more in it for Solanke. And this is the argument I always get confused at, is people want Premier League proven players. And yeah, he might be in a purple patch, but last season he was playing in a Bournemouth side that grew into it. They play really nice attacking football under Iriola. I feel like he's got all the attributes of good at hold up, good in the air. And even the way I see it as well is we had our second highest top goal scoring Premier League season of all time last time out. And that was with the likes of Timo Werner missing chances. So I think if we had someone like a Solanke, like a Tony, who is competent enough at finishing, we would have scored a lot more of those chances. I do think in these sides like Brentford and Bournemouth. They do have they're talented goal scorers. You put them in a Tottenham side who create more chances, who have more talented individuals like Madison. They are going to score the goals. And you look at because I was listening to what you're saying there, Dave, about the plan after Kane. I think Richarlison was the plan after Kane. We brought him in when Kane was still at the club. We paid a lot of money for him, and obviously it didn't work out the first season. He did okay last season, but he's still quite injury prone. I still don't think we'll sell him. If we bring in a striker, I think we'll keep him because he could they could interchange. It's good to have two options. He can play on the wing as well. And it depends if we got an offer from like a Saudi Arabia. I think with Gyökeres is one of those players where he looks good on paper, but I still think he's more of an unknown entity than Solanke. Like I feel like Solanke, I know it could be a one season thing. Like don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's more promise than what I've seen from. And with Solanke as well, you got to think he was. He didn't get a chance at Chelsea. He got passed around to Liverpool and didn't really get a chance there either. And then he went to Bournemouth and he sort of like ticked along nicely. But that's not an easy club to really work at because of the way they've sort of, they're not the biggest club in the world. No offense to them. So the striker market's weird because I still think it's weird because you look at like a Victor Osimhen, like, are we going to go for him? No, which is a shame because you're having to look at like probably 100 odd million. I've seen people saying maybe we should go for Lukaku, which I just think is wild. I watched him in the flesh at the Euros. It was like watching Nile Ranger. It was like he couldn't even trap a bag of cement. So apart from that, I'm really struggling to think of some names of like other strikers who are out there who are, who are gonna come in at our level and sort of, I don't know if there's any other names out there that people think of. I'm struggling, like especially with we're looking at English strikers as well because of this homegrown quota.
Well, look. This is why I campaigned 2 years ago not to sell Harry Kane, because I knew this predicament would arise. Anyway, Sam, what's your thoughts on the whole debacle, my man?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think one thing I would say about Richarlison, and I like him, Dave, as well. The vast majority of the goals that he scores are like poacher's finishes, whether it's with his head or with his little tap in here and there because of his movement. The only, I'll say, good goal. Well, I don't want to say good goal, but the only sort of like exquisite goal that he scored was that one against Everton. That's all I can really think of, right? I'm not doing down any of the headers he scored because he has scored some great headers for us as well. But in terms of like goals from range, I actually think that if you actually look through Solanke's goals from last season, he scored some really good finishes. And look, that doesn't necessarily mean he's a better striker than Richarlison or better than what we potentially need. But I think that the market for kind of solid players rather than really good players has grown, right, in terms of the prices that people are spending. I mean, look at Brennan Johnson. He's a £25 million player, and we paid nearly 50 for him, right? But the difference is Spurs' appetite for spending big. We're not going to go and spend, a 50 million on Johnson and a 50 million on someone else to come in the same window. We're going to want to do these smaller deals. So I think that if we were a club that had maybe a little bit more transfer ambition, we wouldn't necessarily think so much about the price for Solanke. Look, 65 million is a lot of money. I'm not denying that, but it's the context of what Solanke is. He scored 19 goals in the Prem last season for a traditionally struggling Bournemouth. Obviously, they had a good end to the season under Iraola once he came in, but he's homegrown and he's been around the Premier League for a while, played in the Championship as well. So while I don't really want to spend 65 million on him, as I said in the last panel show, I wouldn't cry if Solanke came in, because I do think that he could be all right for us. People saying, I can see people in the comments saying Solanke's overrated, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone say Solanke's a proper player. So if anything, I think he's probably underrated. I think a few months ago, around January, I think that Ali Gold was talking about the club were looking at Solanke. So it's clearly not just something that's been thrown into the mix like last minute just because it's another name that we're admiring or we're interested in or we're monitoring. So again, I would want someone better. I do think Tony is a better player, but Tony's also 3 years older than Solanke, is he? 2 or 3 years older. So you're signing a younger player if you do that. So you have the chance of him going on for longer. And also, I look at Watkins for Aston Villa, right? And everyone wants Watkins, I think. A lot of people want Watkins. And they're saying, it would take 80, 90, 100 million to get him out of Aston Villa. But Watkins is also 29. And when he signed for Villa, I'm sure a lot of people were similar. But I was like, he banged for Brentford. I'd like to get him in. He looks like a player that could be a good understudy for Kane. But he went to Aston Villa and, he didn't really do anything in those first couple of seasons. It's only really last season where he scored 20 goals. And now suddenly he's like the top of everyone's wish list. So he's another one of these players that is potentially a big risk, Obviously, he scored the goal at the World Cup. He's had great moments, but he's not really proved it over, his 29, his 10 years in football or whatever it is, that he actually is a top consistent player. He might go and only score 12 goals next season. I don't think he will, but it's all risks. And as the boys have said on the panel, there aren't many players out there that actually will definitely get you 20 goals this season. So we're going to have to take a risk somewhere or another, whether it's Solanke or not. I'm not going to as I say, I'm not going to put myself out and say I definitely want Solanke, but I don't mind him. I think he'd be all right.
No, look, I hear what you're saying. Look, I just think it's indicative of the striker market, to be brutally honest, that, Solanke is considered a decent striker nowadays. 10, 15 years ago, if he was out there playing, he'd be classified as a bang average striker, to be brutally honest. I do think it's indicative of the market that we're trying to shop in right now. But look, we created that problem when we sold Harry Kane. It's just now, how are the club going to get out of this problem? Because they put themselves between a rock and a hard place, because it's a market where, there's not a lot of great options out there. And the options that we will go after, we're going to have to spend 60 to 80 million. And I hope the club are prepared to do that, because, they were the ones that wanted to cash in on Harry Kane and take the 100 million. So, what did they think was going to happen? So let's wait and see what happens. But, I'll be honest, if Solanke comes in, I'll find it very underwhelming. We've gone from a window where we were promised Tony, or what was put out there, Tony and Eze. And now all of a sudden it's looking like an injury-prone Neto, which is a gamble because of his injuries. And Dominic Solanke, so far, off the back of one season at this level, which is a huge risk, and maybe it goes against what Postecoglou said a few weeks ago, that there was plans, now it seems like that them plans, to me, have gone away somewhere along the line, and we're taking huge gambles in this window, which we shouldn't be at that point in doing. Of course, there's been long outstanding interest in Neto, but why haven't Tottenham pulled the trigger before when they could have got him then? Is it because they were worried about the injuries? And if they bring him in this window, is it because they haven't got in, the players that they've wanted? So, look, personally, I find Dominic Solanke very, very underwhelming. But look, let's wait and see what happens. Couple of weeks left. Shouldn't be sitting here talking about a strike right now, to be honest. It should be in the door. But look, it is game day. So let's move on. Adrian Chia says, imagine Richie with Solanke up front, but no one crossing. Look, that's another huge problem. I do think, it'll be solved to a large degree if you get some back out on the left. I think you'll get a lot more creativity out of there. Right now, I don't know what we're going to do in terms of right wing, whether Ange has the balls to go with a Mikey Moore or whatever out there at this moment in time. But, that's also another part of the striker's problem. Whoever plays up front, there is not enough decent quality service coming from out wide. So, look, we've 2 games to rectify it. Let's see what happens, Adrian Chia. But Solanke and Richie, I think you're going into the season hoping they can hit form rather than going, we can go and challenge, we can go and catch City and Arsenal. We'll be sitting there going, well, it all depends what form these guys are in this season. So I don't want to be in that position. I want guarantees, more so assurances. Someone that I feel like, yeah, he solves my issue. But big up Adrian Chia, my man. Really appreciate the support, guys. I'm going to go back to some comments that I did start earlier on. By the way, I just see Sav in the chat. Big up Sav. I was on his show yesterday, guys. We actually done a bit on Dominic Solanke, so make sure people go and check that out. Big up Faro. Just answer this: what exactly is Scott Munn involved with at Tottenham Hotspur? Look, he's not involved in the transfers. He's basically over the top of all of the footballing operations, men's, women's, and stuff like that. And basically, he's over them whole operations. But as far as I'm aware, he's not actually here for transfer business. It's more so the finances and stuff like that over the footballing operations. Mary W says Donny Moore, Bergvall, and even Gray probably won't start a meaningful game. And she also follows up saying it's a total waste of time. But youngsters won't play any meaningful time when the season starts. Playing players on the way out the door makes no sense. And that brings me on to my question today about the youngsters, because the performances of Tottenham's young talents in pre-season has been the headline maker so far over the course of this pre-season. Is today's match a reliable indicator on whether these young players are ready to be integral parts of Tottenham's squad? And Sonny, we'll start with you.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. The thing that worries me is it's all well and good looking at pre-season, but Talksport did an article on the website the other day about minutes given to academy players. Manchester United led the way. Obviously, Kobe Mainu does have a bulk of that, but you have Garnacho as well. Us and Arsenal, surprisingly Arsenal as well, were the lowest. We were the bottom two, I think, on that list. And you could see there was signs last season. Ange had the possibility of playing a Phillips or a Dorrington. I know Phillips isn't an academy player, but he has been playing for the academy team. So, it does sort of connect the dots. But instead of playing the academy players, he decided to play Emerson Royale and Ben Davis as two centre-backs. So you do think, is this just at the moment? Like sort of how Harry I always remember when we were in the Europa League under Harry Redknapp, he used to play the youngsters in that because, the Europa League wasn't a serious competition after it became the Europa League from being the UEFA Cup. And now it's a bit more serious because, you can get Champions League football if you win it as well. So you do hope that Ange's going to have more faith in academy because he has faith in youth players. Because look at the average age of our squad has gone down to 25 now, which is quite good. Destiny Udogie, Sarr, all under 25 players, under 23 players. So he has got faith, and also Ange has got a good track record of improving those players. There's just something where you just think the likes of, are Mikey Moore going to feature? Is Will Lancashire going to feature? It's hard to know at this stage because it's all well and good in pre-season and showing off all the youth, and we have got a good youth academy, and Tottenham fans love when one of our own is put into the squad. Look at the risk taken on Harry Kane because Daniel Levy was keen to get rid of Harry Kane. I think Tim Sherwood had to persuade him to dismiss a bid from Leicester, which was less than $1 million. I think it was 750k. So it goes to show you that, Levy could see the youth academy as a profitable organisation. But then at the same time, why are we going to Sheffield United to get Lancashire? Why are we going to Chelsea and picking up Jude Sunset-Bell? It's one of those ones where I can't sort of get my head around it. And I'm hoping that they're going to be bled in eventually. I might be looking too far in to say that City game because obviously the City game is City and you probably do want more proven players. But, we saw it takes a while sometimes for Ange to realise stuff like playing Dragerson and Mickey van der Ven at left back eventually. So, and I love Ange to bits. So I'm hopeful that there'll be, we've signed Archie Gray. That's a good youngster who's probably going to now, hold down a start in space. But yeah, it causes more of a headache, you could say, with having to bleed these players in eventually.
Jose, where are you at with some of the youngsters? Because, there's a lot of split opinion around the fan base right now. A lot of people believing, look, they're not going to take us to where we need to go to. Do you share that sentiment?
Right. So for me, the youngsters are in the squad on the tour for a reason, and that reason is we had all them players at the main competitions. when you take 7 players, sorry, 6 players or 7 players, yeah, 7 players that are the Euros and the Copa America. Put them 7. If there's no major competition, them 7 are on pre-season. There is no way that we're taking 38 players out on a tour, right? So the reason why the youngsters are in there, and I think, is obviously to get them used to first team football. Obviously, giving them a form of pre-season as well. But we needed the numbers to take out because we had the players playing the 2 major competitions. Now, from that, what's ended up happening is that for some of the people, and I for one of them, who have not watched these players as much as other people, it's given me an opportunity to see them in the flesh playing football in this pre-season. And some of them have done really, really well, and they've done themselves no harm whatsoever in what they've done. And as I said, it's now down to, or I said this in the last show that we did, it's now down to the Tottenham coaching team and academy team to figure out pathways for these youngsters. Some of them look too good to go back into academy football. Some of them need to have loans out of the club, and it's about getting the pathway right. What loans do we give some of these players? Are we giving them a League Two, League One, or are they Championship level? Are any of them Premiership level loans? Are they foreign loans? We've got to mastermind the loans correctly for some of these players to aid and abet them going forward to help us. Some of them will be looked at, and they may look at some and say, no, some of them we're going to keep in and around the first team squad, and they'll get a few minutes here and there. But that is the job of the coaching staff to do. I can't see, because if you look at, we had 31 players, or 31 players went out on the tour, right? And from them 31 players that gone out on the tour, Doggy and Richarlison have been injured. So that takes you down to 29 players. And from them 29 players, if you look, how many of them are youngsters? Yeah. And then how many of them seriously would have gone if you had the players not the Copa America and stuff like that? So, you know, at the end of the day, some may stay with the first team. The majority will probably go out on loan. I can't see many going back into academy football unless they can't find the right pathway for them. And then you've got the other player in Dorrington. Dorrington's been injured, and it's what are they going to do with Dorrington next season? And then the other thing that people don't tend to forget is a lot of these youngsters that played in the under-21s, they were 18 and 19 years of age. So, you know, at the end of the day, they're very, very young, these players, and you've got to guide them correctly. And for people thinking, now they're all going to get into the first team squad, they're not. They're not going to all get in the first team squad, but it's picking the right path for them to make them better players for the following season and the season after that. Then you can have a look at them. If someone goes out and has I'd like to say, if we sent 3 or 4 of them out on loan and they had absolute barnstorming loans for the year, well, it can only aid and abet Tottenham when they come back to us next season.
No, 100%. I think you're right. I do think there is merits and benefits to some of these youngsters, which I'm going to touch on in a minute. I just want to quickly say, look, guys, I know it's tough times out there right now as Spurs fans, right? We're all frustrated, tensions are high and stuff like that. At the end of the day, we're all human beings here, and we all support the same club. And deep down, we all want the same thing. We may just have different ways of going about it, but we all want the same thing. For the love of God, all I just ask is that we respect each other. You know, I grew up in a time where Spurs fans were rare when you seen them. If you seen one, you automatically had that mutual respect because he was going through what you were going through, support the same club. How we got to a point now where we're just whipping each other apart? I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let this chat get like that. I'm not going to let this community be like that. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. It doesn't matter what your opinion is, as long as it's football-based. You're entitled to it, and you can put it in the chat. These personal attacks on each other has to stop. Please, I ask you in the chat, just respect one another. You can have footballing discussions and disagree without having to pull each other down, rip each other apart, and call each other names. Please, I ask. Anyway, sorry, Sam, on to you, my man, about these youngsters. Do you think today's game is going to be a good litmus test for them? Because there's still a lot of debates around how good they are in a step up in level. I think today will be that step up.
I think a lot of these youngsters will be really excited to play this game. they won't have ever played it in a game as big as this. And it's I know it's a friendly, and Mikey Moore's played against City. He's probably the only player, and Donnelly, I guess, as well. But a lot of them will be thinking like, shit, we're playing Bayern Munich right now. So this is a massive game for them, the youngsters in general. I think these are the kind of games that the players would have signed to us because they wanted to play in these likes of games. I know they will know that we're in the Europa League this season, but the ambition of these players will be like the same as ours. We want Champions League. We want to play against the best of the best and give them a run. So yeah, I think it will be an interesting game to see if people have been praising Bergvall and how good he's been on the ball. It'll be interesting to see if against the likes of whoever they're playing in midfield, but maybe they're playing the Austrian guy. I can't think of his name right now. I can see his face, but I can't. Or Goretzka or whoever they're going to play in the middle. They're going to be up for it as well. Bayern, so. It'll be interesting to see how Donnelly can play against the pace that they're likely to have going in behind. Because let's be honest, we're going to be defending pretty much with a 2, and they're going to have a bit of a field day, I think. So I don't necessarily agree with Dermo's 3-0 win that he's predicting for us today. Although I like his optimism as always. But yeah, look, I mean. It is a friendly, so you kind of have to. We need to see what the team's going to be when it comes out for both sides, and whether the youngsters start against the stronger 11, or if they come on against the weakened Bayern 11. But either way, I think that it's just good to see what they can offer against a higher caliber of player, and whether they can deal with the slight increased pressure of playing a bigger team like this. There's probably going to be more eyes watching this game than there would have been for us versus Vissel Kobe, with no disrespect. Same with the Hearts game and the QPR games. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they do cope with the pressure. I think that's the main thing, the pressure, and whether they still continue to take their player on over and over like they have been. And I'd like to see Gray play in the midfield and get a bit more experience there, because he's deputized very well at centre back. I think a lot of us are quite impressed with how he's played as a centre back, but that's probably the last position he'll end up playing, unless we really need him to. So we'll probably see him at right back during the season, and we should see him as the 6. And a lot of people are clamoring that we want to see a 6 come in. So, can he lay down a bit of a foundation to say that we actually might not need a 6 as desperately as we all think that we do? So look, it'll be interesting.
No, look, personally, I don't think we're getting a number 6. I think Archie Gray was that sign, and whether people think it's good enough or not, I don't think we're getting another one. Look, when it comes to these youngsters, I think it's clear that we've got some exceptional players coming through. And I do understand people's caution around the youngsters. However, I think there has to be a bit of give and take on this situation. And what I mean by that is, we moan about our squad, the likes of Skip being kept around, Whiteman, Brandon Austin, people like that, right? But the reason why they're kept around is for box-ticking exercises to meet the homegrown trained quota in the Premier League and in Europe. That's why they're being kept around. That's why they're getting contracts without actually playing a minute on the bloody football pitch in the keeper's cases. In order for us to be able to move on from that and progress, we have to at least bring forward these guys through so that we're not wasting from now on 50, 60 million in a market, for an average player like Brennan Johnson, when it looks like Mikey Moore is already streets ahead of the guy in terms of football IQ, ability, everything else. So I do think that Spurs fans do have to show some of these guys some patience to come through so that we can improve on that homegrown side, because that is one area that has continuously let us down. We haven't been gung-ho about going improving. We've had bang average players there. So in order to move on from these box-ticking exercises, fans do have to show some of these guys patience to be able to push them through so that we can move on from that. It's just where the fans are going to, and I think they will. I think when Pochettino turned to the academy, a lot of fans gave a lot of them youngsters a bit of time, showed them a lot of love and stuff like that. I think we'll do the same. But I do think fans, okay, our youngsters going to bring us all the way to titles? No, they're not. We need help. We need more signings. But I think the idea is that they're on the periphery of the squad, working hard, training hard, doing everything they can to get their minutes on the training pitch, which will hopefully push other people ahead of them as well, which we haven't had in years gone by. So I do think there is benefits to bringing a few of these through. Let me know your thoughts on that, but that's where I'm at with it. And today I think will be a good litmus test, especially for someone like Bergvall, who's been brilliant preseason, been brilliant on the ball, threading through passes. Let's see how he does today up against Bayern Munich. Archie Gray, to a large degree, has been very good preseason. Let's see how he does today up against Bayern Munich in a midfield where he's coming up against a lot more technical players, a lot more players that are a lot better on the ball in terms of keeping it and that as well. So I think today will be a huge test. Let's see if Jamie Donnelly, he'll probably come on in the second half at left back, and Dozier will probably get the first half, or vice versa. Let's see if he can still bring that attacking play that he's brought at left back. Personally, I don't want to see him as a left back at all this season, although I would rather see him than Ben Davies come in, to be brutally honest with you. But it's sad that we're at this point in talking about this. But I would like to see him given an opportunity up in the forward areas. If Will Lancashire comes off the bench, let's see whether he can still find that space that he's found so far this preseason. I think it'll ask some very good questions of our youngsters. Now it's just about whether they stand up to that test or not. Guys, we are 15 minutes out from the lineups. As soon as they are out, I will bring them up, and we'll stay a little bit after that, get people's thoughts, and then we will be calling it an evening. A morning. What am I talking about? Or an afternoon. But guys, I want to talk a little bit about Jed Spence. Now, we are coming to the end of preseason, and a decision does need to be made on Jedi Spence-tacular. Has he done enough this preseason to be kept around as part of our squad? And we'll start with you on this one, Jose.
Absolutely, for me. I'm hoping, because I'm not inside the camp, I'm hoping that he's come back, because, right, let's go back. 3 weeks ago, Tottenham and Genoa were doing bits to try and get him out the door. That all broke down, and I'm hoping that Spence has come back to the club when that broke down. And I had a chat with Ange and said, look, I've learnt from my mistakes. And had a candid conversation, and from that I'm talking about, in the past there's been lots of rumours about Jed Spence and his entourage and the baggage that comes with it, with his family and friends whilst at Tottenham. I've heard all the stories from the Leeds supporters and the Leeds community of what Spence was like in Leeds with his entourage, family and friends as well. And going to Italy is a different culture, different country. He's on his own. He hasn't got this big entourage out with him, because the Italians wouldn't stand up for it and wouldn't have it. He's gone somewhere where he's been appreciated. He's got first team minutes. They teach you, well, the Italians are the masters of defending, of the defending arts. And I think he's played really well out there. He's come back, had a candid conversation, said, look, I want to give it 130, Gaffer. Can't give me a chance. The Gaffer's probably said to him, okay, let's see what you got. And, giving him that opportunity. So far, from what we've seen in 4 preseason games, he stood out not like a sore thumb, stood out like a beacon in the 4 appearances he's made. We've been linked with players like Vanderson, Coyote, and players like that. They're going to be in excess of £20 million. What's the point spending 20 odd million pounds when you've already got Jed Spence at the club? I'd rather save that money. If we're ever going to spend anything, I'd rather save that money and spend it on other areas. So for me, if that's the kind of conversation that's happened, and if that's the kind of thing that's going on behind the scenes between Spence and Ange Postecoglou and the club, then yeah, I'd keep him for definite.
Interesting. Look, I would keep him. Look, ideally, I'd love to say to the club, go out, get me a right back, left back, CDM, striker, winger, and someone else to come in here and compete with Maddison. But the owners ain't going to do that. I know that, So it's sad that we have to sit here and really have this discussion. Should we be keeping Jed Spence around? He should have been a long time ago and someone else brought in. However, I do think he's been absolutely brilliant this preseason. I echo a lot of what Jose has said. I mean, Sam, what's your thoughts on Jed Spence? I believe Postecoglou alluded the other day in his sort of quotes that Jed Spence has impressed him and there is potential that he's going to make this roster. You happy with that?
Yeah, look, I'm excited for it. I think that a lot of people were excited when he was announced originally. But he had supposed attitude problems, and it's difficult for players to kind of get over that label once they are actually labeled as that, because you know, everywhere you go, as soon as you're out of form a little bit, or you know, you're on the bench again, people start saying, oh, you know what, I hear he's got a bad attitude, you know, he lived next to the whoever it was, someone in the club, and he was playing music until 2 a.m, you know, that's not what a footballer should be doing. And it's like, yeah, but the guy's, he was probably 22 at that point, you know, he just got his move to the Premier League after quite a difficult start in his career. He'd been told by, you know, managers that he wasn't good enough to make it that way. And then straight away he was told, but like not even directly, that Conte didn't even want him. So that's obviously gonna be hard for someone to take and want to put the work in, knowing, you know, I'm not going to play for this club. You know, he had a very good, was it Middlesbrough that he was at before he came to us on loan?
Yeah, Middlesbrough. Yeah, I think it was Forest and Middlesbrough. Anyway, I keep getting them mixed up which way around it is.
Yeah, he's Forest player
on loan at Borough.
Yeah, loan at Borough.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, you know, in the games, I'm not going to say I sit here and say I watched him play, you know, 38 games or whatever it is in the Championship, but in the games I did watch him play, you know, especially against Arsenal, he was tearing them apart. And it was actually a different system. You know, he was playing as a wider player, but he's shown us that he can step inside and play that Destiny Udogie role, you know, and he's a big boy as well. He's not small. So with a bit of power, pace, he actually looks like he's got quite a good eye for a pass as well. Some of the passes he made in those first few friendlies, you know, cutting it through the lines, I was seriously impressed with. And I've trying to temper my expectations and my excitement for him, because it is only pre-season, and it's only been, you know, probably a total of 180 minutes that he's actually played, if that. So he's got a long way to go on the redemption, but I'm definitely behind the Jedi Master Spence redemption arc. That's for sure.
Seems to be he's gaining a lot of fans this preseason. Sonny, are we adding you to the Jedi fan list?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good, and that's the bare minimum you could ask for. You know, comes back a few weird loan spells, Genoa and Rennes, wasn't it, in France the year before? I mean, the whole transfer was like shrouded in loads of misery because Daniel Levy was negotiating it. We got, you know, it was backwards and forwards. And as you know, Sam has said, Conte didn't want him. So, you know, coming in like that, you are going to be a bit miffed, aren't you? So, I mean, it's logical why we're keeping him. You get rid of Emerson Royale, who had more lives than a cat getting into that. I don't know if he had, like, you know, some of these managers' nudes or something. He was holding something against them to get into that team week in, week out. But I'm glad we're finally shifting him off. And, you know, I think Ange's also a manager who's willing to give players another chance. He's English as well. So if you think about that, it's good for the homegrown quota just to have him around as well. I think he's versatile enough. He's comfortable on the ball in those midfield positions where he's going to have to invert. I just think it makes sense. And if he's come back with a good attitude, he wants to, you know, break into the first team. Because everyone keeps saying, oh, like, you know, back up to Porro. If he comes in and has a good, you know, what he could disperse him in that lineup. You know, who knows? But I think he's worth another go. You know, we paid a fair chunk for him, 20-odd million, I believe. So I don't see the negatives in keeping him around. And if it does go Pete Tong and his attitude stinks, Andrew will show him the door without doubt.
No, 100%. Look, I think he provides us a different option to Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro is more of a, you know, don't get me wrong, he can run, he can dribble with the ball. But his biggest asset is his crossing. The threat he possesses in around the box, but also, him being able to spray the ball around, passing it and stuff like that. I think Jed Spence brings that something a little bit different, maybe similar to what Destiny Dozier brings to the other side. That explosive ball carrying ability, be able to get you from defense to attack in 0.1 of a second. It's absolutely unbelievable. And to be honest with you, I think Jed Spence has shown he can play a little bit in around that box. And what I like about it as well, he's hungry for goals. He's trying to get in at that back post all the time when the ball's out on the left-hand side. And look, I think he's done enough. I think the kid's got a raw deal at Tottenham Hotspur. If I'm him at 22 years of age and my Premier League dream is taken away by a manager, and no matter what I do, I won't play because I'm being used as a pawn between him and the owner and a power struggle, I'm going to lose my head at some point. I'm not going to lie, and the fact that And everyone matures at different rates as well. It seems like he has matured a little bit now, that maybe he finally has that bit of understanding and that, he's willing to work hard. So let's see how it goes. I think, he might be kept around to Christmas at least. Let's see what happens beyond that. But look, I think it'd be stupid to sell on Jed Spence right now because let's be honest, does anyone back the club to go into the market and bring in another right back if they sell Jed Spence? I don't. So probably don't even have time right now considering we're still trying to get in a striker and that. So, for
Archie
me,
Gray can also play right back as well, can't he? So that's a good opportunity. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're right. He can't. Archie Gray can play right back, but my problem, yes, he can fill in, but if we brought him long term for that number 6, I prefer him to get the minutes in there rather than shoehorn him into right back at times and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, he can play there. He had a very good campaign there for Leeds. One-on-one defensively, he's very good. We've seen that this season at centre-back. But I would prefer him to get his minutes in that number 6 if that's where he's going to be long term. Look, people may not like Jed Spence getting another chance, but ask yourself this. If Tottenham ain't going to go into the window, would you rather take your chances with Jed Spence or not? From what I've seen, I'd rather take my chances. Sean Pierce, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the support. I did bring that comment up earlier, by the way, but he sent it in a super chat, so really appreciate it, lad. He says, we need a heavy defeat to give us a wake-up call. Today could be the day for that. I mean, Jose, you're looking at that. You look a bit disgruntled while reading it. Do you think Tottenham need a wake-up call this pre-season?
It'll be interesting to see where we are because I think
maybe he's talking about the owners, Jose, maybe that they need that wake-up call to knee-jerk them into the market.
Yeah, to me, I was going to say, looking at the, I don't even know when the German league starts. It's been so quiet that I don't know when the German league starts.
It's usually a week or two after us, isn't it?
I think, yeah. So if that's the case, then we should be ahead of Bayern on the minutes in our legs and stuff like that. It is a new Bayern team. Someone put in the chat earlier, there's a load of players that they're looking to get out of the club. Here we go. The team's come up.
No, keep going, Jose. Keep going. We'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah, so there's a load of players that they're trying to move on out of the club. So it'll be interesting to see where we are. I mean, it's all right having Tottenham's lineup there. I'm interested to see what Bayern's lineup looks like. But
I'll get that for you in a minute.
But the thing is yeah, I would turn around and say that will it give a wake-up call? I think that Tottenham, there is a plan in place. And regardless, I think we're just all frustrated as a fan base because we don't actually know what the plan is and who it is we're going for, who it is we're actually going to get. I think it'll all reveal itself between now and the end of the transfer window. A lot of it may reveal itself between now and the end of next week because, that'll give you another week before the start of the season. Yeah, I think there's a plan in place. So it won't be revealing for me because I think there's a plan in place, and we'll just have to go by whatever the club does. If the club by the end of the transfer window hasn't done the bits and pieces, then by all means, when we've got the full facts in front of us, i.e., this is what you've done at the end of by the end of the transfer window, then we can turn around and have our opinions. But as it is, the opinion at the moment is it's underwhelming for the majority of the fan base. But today has no bearing on it at all. As I said, I think there's a plan in place.
Well, Sean, look, I never want to lose a game of football, my man. I never want to be beaten badly. It hurts when Newcastle's done it to us twice on the trot over 2 seasons. I don't ever want to lose. But look, I just hope that, the board get that way. To be honest with you, I don't think we should have to suffer a heavy defeat for them to have that wake-up call. I think they should already look at it and go, we need a striker. Now, look, some people argue, and this isn't my opinion, by the way, but some people might argue that the club are sticking to their number one choice and deserve credit for it. They've been ridiculed for not sticking to number one choices in the past and stuff like that. And maybe sticking to your number one choice just takes a bit of time. But look, let's wait and see. Personally, like I said, Sean, I don't think they should have to wait for a defeat to have a wake-up call. I think they should already have, they should already know what we need. Andrew's already spoke about titles. They had that meeting before last season even ended. So hopefully they get their ass in gear now, Sean. But big up, my man, and really appreciate the support. And Faz Radfire 3-1 Spurs is disappointed if we don't score at least 3 versus Dyer. Well, I'll get up the Bayern Munich lineup in just a moment, Faz, but if Dyer's out there, I hope we absolutely rinse and railroad that guy.
I was going to say, I thought I heard that he's on the bench. I thought someone said that about 20 minutes ago that he was going to be on the bench today.
Maybe he is. I'll have a look at it in a sec. But even if he does get a game, to be honest with you, Faz Radfire, what that Korean guy done to Skip last week, where he completely tangled his legs up, I hope, we can do that to Eric Dyer and expose him for how crap he really is. Big up Faz Radfire. Really appreciate the support, buddy. But look, guys, we've got the lineups out, so of course I'll go through them. Vicario in goals, Pedro Porro at right back, Dragusin right-sided centre-back, Davies left-sided centre-back, with Jed Spence Tacular going out at left-back. So that'll be an interesting experiment. No Destiny Adoji, maybe not fit enough to start. Gray would probably hold that number 6 spot. Sarr in the 8. Madison is the creator. Johnson again out on the right-hand side. What did he do last week against the K-League to warrant another start here today? I don't get it. He done absolutely nothing. And then Kulusevski, of course, leading the line again. He's done a very good job with that so far this preseason. And then Son back out looking like at his best out on the left wing. On the bench, Alfie Whiteman, Brandon Austin, Luca Gunter, Emerson Royale, George Abbott, Ollie Skip, Yves Basuma, Alfie Devine, Therese Hall, Bergval, Jamie Donnelly, Mikey Moore, Manor Solomon, Timo Werner, Valise, Scarlett, and Lancashire. So again, there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, nearly 17 subs there, 16 or 17 subs there.
And no a doggy on the bench either, yeah?
Yeah, no doggy on the bench either. I wonder, is that because, Postecoglou did allude to in his previous press conference for the K-League that he's only back in training and that he's still carrying some effects to the injury. So no doggy today, which is another shame. Again, it's concerning. Will he be fit for the season? And is that why we're looking at Jed Spence in that role instead of someone like Jamie Donnelly, who has played there so far? So, guys, we'll get your thoughts on the lineup. We'll let you plug where people can find you, and I think we'll call it a day and let you all go and get some breakfast into you before the big game. Sonny, my man, what's your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, I like the idea of trying Spence out.
Oh, is everyone else with me, or is that me gone?
No, you're there. I can hear you.
Oh, you're back now, Sonny.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I don't even know where I got up to. Good to see. Good to see Dragusin back in. We haven't had our centre backs as much in pre-season. I like the look of the midfield, and I like the look at Kulusevski against a tougher opposition. Really, I mean, just good to maybe get the youngsters in as the game goes on, just to see what they can do. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Looks quite good. I mean, I looked at the Bayern team briefly on Twitter as well, and it's quite strong in places. So obviously Kim Min Jae out in Korea as well. Want to put on a bit of a performance in the back line.
No, it'll be interesting. Hopefully Son can run at him and skin him a few times. That'd be absolutely brilliant. And Sonny, where can people find you, my man? And thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
No, thank you very much, Dave, as well, and cheers to Sam and Jose. Was a pleasure. I thought it went really, really well. But yeah, you can find me Sonny Talk Spurs on YouTube. Just type that into the search box. As I say, I've been away for a long time, so I'm back plugging away. So if anyone can come over and give me some support, I would really, really appreciate it. Got a good video coming out tomorrow with Alice Talks Football about Spurs' youth policy going forward as well, which I enjoy talking to Alice. She's not a Tottenham fan, but she talks a lot of sense about Tottenham, so that's always good.
United fan, is she?
Yes, a United fan, but a good one.
I've
A
seen
good
a few of
United
their
fan.
videos about Tottenham and the youngsters and stuff like that. Guys, make sure you get over, check out Sonny's channel. Some great content coming out there every single week. Great contributor to this channel as well. So please get over, check out Sonny, and make sure you smash that subscribe button. Jose, what's your thoughts on the lineup, my man?
Yeah, Udogie. We knew Udogie was he's coming back from injury. I suppose he was taken out there because the whole squad's gone out there and it's to do his rehab and stuff out there. The alarming thing for me is that there's just no Richarlison again. It just shows that we need to bloody buy a striker, or at least two, or well, I'll say at least a 9. But you've got to buy another person to play up front as well in the forward line, because I mean we're not even getting any sound bites or anything at all on Richarlison. How long is his injury going to last for? How long is he going to be out? We just need to bring someone in. Looking at the lineup, yeah, for obvious reasons, I think Emerson's been dropped down to the subs bench, and it's obviously I think the Milan deal is becoming really, really close. Yeah, Sarr, Gray, Madison. I would have wanted to see a bit more Bergvall, because what I keep saying is that I'd like to see some of these players or a lot of these players play amongst first teams, what you deem to be your first team players rather than the youngsters. But it looks like the second half will probably end up seeing him in the second half along with some of the other youngsters. I'd like to see how many minutes these people get into their legs in this game. Will they do another 45? Will they get an hour to 70 minutes? So it'd be interesting to see how much game time they're going to get. And I suppose the game time's all dependent on what happens in the match. If it's forgive me for saying this, but if it's an easy peasy match for Tottenham, then it might be 45 minutes.
You've jinxed the game now, Jose.
But yeah, we'll wait and see. But yeah, as I said, I always look forward to seeing Tottenham play. So yeah, at the end of the day, the team is what it is. It's probably a stronger lineup. In fact, it's a very strong lineup again. And yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm interested to see, like Sonny said, I'm interested to see how Spence plays out on the left today. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. And can I say thank you very much to Sonny and Sam. It's a pleasure being on with you two guys. Dave, thank you very much for having me on and for inviting me onto the Pump Up Show. Everyone in the chat, keep supporting the Irish Hotspur. You're all wonderful. And all I'll say is support the team and support them in your own way, and let's unite as a fan base. And if anyone wants to come and see a bit of me, then you can always find me on LTL Cockerel.
Nah, please get over, smash the subscribe button on Jose. Like I keep saying, one of the most underrated channels in this community. So get over there, smash that subscribe button, and become a part of LTL Cockerel over there, Jose. Again, thank you very much for your time this morning, my man. Really appreciate it, and a great panel guest. So thank you very much. And Sam, my man, what's your thoughts on the lineup, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this team, obviously, other than a handful of players, could be a team that we see towards the start of the season. Whether we start Sarr and Gray together as the sort of two more defensive players, I'm not 100% sure on. And obviously, hopefully, we get Destiny back to play left back, and we'll have the two centre backs in. But I think that front sort of four, that will probably be the four that you see. As Jose said, we haven't had anything about Richarlison, but I wonder if that's kind of a transfer tactic to not let other teams know that Richarlison might be out for a few months, or that he's not immediately back, and try and keep some of the prices down for strikers, knowing that we might actually need to get someone in to play straight away, and that we're almost desperate. I look at the sort of youngsters on the bench, and I don't want to sound too negative about this player in particular, but I don't see the Valise hype, if I'm honest. I'm not sure that he's ever gonna make it in the club, and I think that there are other players in our academy that should be getting that we should be pushing more, I think, because of the homegrown aspect of them. Don't get me wrong. I think Valiz is an all right player, but I'm not really sure why we decided it was imperative for us to bring him in. But he played well in that Brighton game, but he didn't get any minutes for Sevilla. Not that they're not that they're a crap team either. So if they'd needed him, he would have played. But look, there's a few players on the bench that are exciting. Obviously, no more than more. It'd be interesting to see if Solomon gets any more minutes because a lot of people are thinking that they want him out the door. I'm kind of 50-50 on him. I think he's got the right attributes, but doesn't really do the performance. It doesn't put the performances in that we need. I think Spence left back could be interesting because we've heard that he can cover that left back position, which obviously is great potentially if he can do that, so that we can rest a few players here and there. But I'm looking at the Bayern team, and they've got Gnabry, Muller, and Tell starting up front, and Gnabry's obviously a tricky player. He's quite clinical as well. Muller's not the quickest, but his movement and his physicality is up there with some of the best in the world, even at his age. And Tell looks like quite a tricky customer. He's rapid, and he's got a bit of trickery about him. So it'd be interesting to see who does play on that right side. It'll probably be Gnabry from what I remember. But yeah, so it'll be a good test for him, and it'll be a good test for the midfield going up against the Bayern team. So yeah, I think it's quite a good squad. I'm happy to see Dragusin back in because he, as you said, he did look a little bit like he needed a few more game minutes to get back up to match speed. But yeah, obviously Vicario back in is great. We'll see what happens on the bench, whether he plays Austin for the whole second half or if he gives Gunter some minutes as well. It makes sense to me that Royale's not in the squad. I did put a tweet out about it earlier saying that I was wondering if he was going to be in. Obviously, it looks like he's going to go to AC Milan for around £15 million, which I think is a bit low. But also, if they want him out, you kind of just got to bite the bullet. But yeah, look, I think it's a positive team, and I'm excited for the game. Obviously, I'm grateful to be on another show, another Irish Hotspur show. They've given me a voice in the community, so I'll always be grateful for that. I'm glad to be on with two great guests as well. I've seen a few of you on different channels, so I'm glad to be on with Jose and Sunny. And yeah, you can find me. I made my new Twitter, Spurs Undercover, because I live in West London, so I'm around those boys in
West
blue.
Ham. Oh, Chelsea.
yeah, Chelsea. So yeah, you can find me on there. While I'm away, as I said on the last stream, I might mess around with a bit of Photoshop, make a few memes here and there. But yeah, just be showing my general views. I'm not going to be the most active on it, like not going to be posting every single day and every minute, because I like to see what other people say, and if I see a good perspective, I'll comment on it and I'll repost it, and generally just try and bring a bit of positivity to the community, whilst also trying to remain as realistic as possible, having been a supporter of the club for over 10 years now. So I've seen good and bad, seen no trophies. So that's the next on the agenda. But yeah, great to be on with everyone. Good to have you back, Dave. And I'll see you all soon.
No, I appreciate that. And look, first and foremost, I appreciate you giving up your time considering you're on your holidays, my man. So that's absolutely a huge effort today. So I really do appreciate that. And look, guys, Sam's taken to this like a duck to water. He's been absolutely brilliant filling in, on the regular panel show and in here today as well. And we want to see more of Sam. So everybody, please get over there, check out his Twitter, make sure you give him a follow. And then last but not least, guys, my thoughts on the lineup. I think we're getting back to maybe closer to what is Ange Postecoglou's favoured. I'll take this down for 1 minute, Davy Shire. Favoured maybe 11. I think we're getting somewhat close to that. Maybe an indicator of this lineup of some of the players that maybe Ange Postecoglou is going to select to start that Leicester game. No, Emerson Royal, like Sam alluded to, I think that's pretty much done and dusted. That means he's out the door. No, no Ashley Phillips. Again, he's injured, but I think that probably seals it for him. He'll probably go out on loan now. He hasn't really received as much game time as he probably would have hoped over this preseason. Noah Dorsey, I find concerning. We're 2 weeks out from the season. We've seen how much his absence cost us last season. Could we be entering the season without having him there again? I find that concerning. And also, a lot of the youngsters dropped to the bench today as well. So it means they'll probably come on. You might get one or two that come on at halftime, and the rest, maybe to what Jose was saying, 60, 65 minutes. You know, you'd probably see some changes, and it'd be interesting to see how they come on, whether they can impact the game, whether they can take us on, you know, to a new level in terms of performance and stuff like that. But the main thing is, the Kulusevski army, Dejan is back up front. It seems like we're ending this experiment of Son being a striker. He's back out on the left-hand side where he's most deadly. And hopefully Kulu can do it today against Bayern Munich. And great to Jed Spence at left-back as well, quickly. Going to be very interesting to see how he gets on. We've seen Radu Dragusin play at left side of centre-back. We've seen how difficult it can be for him in terms of progressing the ball out from the back on his left foot. Will Jed Spence suffer something similar today? Let's wait and see. But I also think it's a view that if Doji does get injured, he's going to be your guy to step in. So let's see how he gets on today. And in last thing, Madison back in the lineup. This guy better turn up today. He's done absolutely F all preseason. He's been useless. Hasn't done anything since last season to show me, you know, that he's going to hit this season, hit the ground running and be a lot better than what he has. So today is a huge opportunity for him to step up. Let's wait and see what he does. And then David Shire, thank you, Dave and Jack. Great show. Appreciate the hard yakka put in, Cobbers. Really appreciate that, my man. Look, it's not hard yards at all, David Shire. We absolutely love it, to be brutally honest with you, my man. You know, we support this club. We love this club. You know, sometimes too much, you know, it can really affect, you know, your mood sometimes, you know, especially in the transfer windows and stuff like that. But I really do appreciate it. And hopefully many people have enjoyed it. It seems like people really enjoyed it today. I think for the majority, you know, we reached 600 people tuning in. So absolutely massive numbers here today. I will say, though, and look, I'm not intelligent, but I failed maths in school. But the likes and the people tuning in do not add up. And I don't need to be an A maths student to realize that. So, guys, on the way out, please smash the like button. You wouldn't walk into your parents' house without wiping your feet on the carpet. Should be the same when you're going into any YouTube stream. Smash that like button. But guys, that is it from us. We will see you on the watch along, kicking off in 13 minutes time. So we will see you there. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has decided to tune in today. I really do appreciate it. These streams will be every single game day this season, so make sure you look out for them. Massive thank you to the panel as well for giving up their time this morning, and a massive thank you to these people for going the extra mile. Adrian Chia, Shem, Sean, Faz Radfar, and Mr. Shire as well. Absolutely really appreciate that. Guys, that's it from us. See you back here for the watch along in 12 minutes time now. Come on, you Spurs. In the mighty hands we trust. We never stop. Let's fucking go.